The emergency broadcast crackled across the galaxy's communication networks like a dying star's final scream. Deep in the Andromeda Research Station orbiting Earth's moon, Dr. Sarah Chen nearly dropped her coffee when the translation algorithm finally decoded the alien transmission. "This is the Zephyrian High Council broadcasting on all emergency frequencies," the mechanical voice announced through her speakers. "Our homeworld faces extinction. The Devourers have consumed 17 star systems. We require immediate military assistance from any species capable of warfare. Please respond if you possess advanced weapons technology or combat-trained forces." Sarah stared at the holographic display showing the transmission's origin point, a distant sector marked as unexplored in human star charts. Her hands trembled as she realized the magnitude of what she'd intercepted. First contact wasn't supposed to happen like this. She rushed through the station's corridors, her footsteps echoing off metallic walls adorned with Earth's flags and scientific achievement banners. The communication hub buzzed with activity as technicians monitored deep space signals, but none of them understood what Sarah had discovered. "Director Morrison," she called out as she burst into the command center. "We've received an alien distress signal." Director James Morrison, a weathered man with graying temples and tired eyes, looked up from his reports. "Sarah, please tell me you're joking." "I'm completely serious." She activated the main display, broadcasting the translated message for everyone to hear. The room fell silent except for the hum of machinery and the distant sound of oxygen recyclers. Morrison rubbed his forehead. "How many people have heard this?" "Just me and now everyone in this room. The signal's been broadcasting for 3 days, but our systems only finished the translation protocol an hour ago." "3 days?" Morrison's eyes widened. "How long does it take for responses to reach their location?" Sarah consulted her tablet. "Approximately 6 months at light speed for any signal we send. But, sir, they mentioned something called Devourers that have consumed 17 star systems. If they're broadcasting this widely, they must be desperate." The command center erupted in whispered conversations. Technicians exchanged glances while junior officers waited for orders. Morrison raised his hand for silence. "This information doesn't leave this room until we contact Earth Command. Sarah, prepare a detailed report. Include the transmission data, translation protocols, and your analysis of their technology level based on the signal's characteristics." As the room dispersed, Morrison pulled Sarah aside. "What's your honest assessment? Are they legitimate?" Sarah pulled up the signal analysis on her tablet. "The transmission uses quantum-encrypted subspace frequencies we've only theorized about. The energy requirements to broadcast across galactic distances are enormous. Either they're incredibly advanced, or they're facing something truly catastrophic." "Or both," Morrison muttered. Back on Earth, the emergency session of the United Nations Security Council convened within 12 hours of receiving the lunar station's report. The assembly hall buzzed with tension as world leaders absorbed the implications of humanity's first contact scenario. Secretary General Maria Santos stood before the gathered representatives. "Ladies and gentlemen, we face an unprecedented situation. An alien civilization has requested military assistance against an unknown threat they call Devourers." The Russian representative leaned forward. "Have we verified this isn't an elaborate hoax?" Dr. Elizabeth Hawkins, Earth's leading xenobiologist, addressed the council via hologram from the lunar station. "The transmission's technical specifications are beyond current human capabilities. The quantum encryption alone would require computational power exceeding our most advanced supercomputers." "What do we know about these Devourers?" asked the Chinese delegate. Dr. Hawkins consulted her notes. "Very little. The Zephyrians mentioned 17 consumed star systems, which suggests either massive ships or some form of stellar engineering. The scale implies a civilization far beyond our current capabilities." The American Secretary of Defense, General Patricia Reynolds, stood up. With respect to the scientific community, shouldn't we consider that any species capable of galactic communication might view us as primitive? Why would they contact Earth specifically? They didn't contact Earth specifically, Dr. Hawkins clarified. They broadcast on all frequencies to any species capable of warfare. We just happened to intercept it. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had accidentally received a call meant for galactic powers they didn't even know existed. "What's our military assessment?" Secretary General Santos asked. General Reynolds activated a holographic display showing Earth's current military capabilities. "Our most advanced weapons are nuclear warheads and railgun prototypes. We have no faster-than-light travel, limited space-based assets, and zero combat experience against non-human opponents." "So we can't help them," concluded the British representative. "Actually," Dr. Hawkins interrupted, "we might be exactly what they need." Every eye in the room turned to her. She took a deep breath before continuing. The Zephyrian transmission included detailed specifications about their enemies. The Devourers appear to be a collective consciousness that operates through advanced artificial intelligence. They consume planets for resources and computational power. Most galactic civilizations have evolved beyond traditional warfare. They rely on diplomatic solutions and technological deterrence. "Your point?" General Reynolds asked. "Humans are the only species that has continuously engaged in warfare throughout our entire evolutionary history. We're the only civilization that has weaponized everything from rocks to atomic energy. While other species developed beyond conflict, we perfected it." The German chancellor spoke up. "Are you suggesting we're naturally suited for warfare?" "I'm suggesting we're the only species that never stopped preparing for it. Look at our entertainment, our sports, our video games. Everything revolves around competition and conflict. We've turned destruction into an art form." Dr. Sarah Chen's voice crackled through the communication system from the lunar station. "I've been analyzing human military history against the Zephyrian technological profiles. Our adaptive tactics, guerrilla warfare strategies, and psychological operations are completely foreign concepts to species that evolved past physical conflict." Secretary General Santos called for order as discussions erupted across the hall. "Dr. Hawkins, what exactly are you proposing?" "The Zephyrians have superior technology but lack combat instincts. They're asking for military assistance, not advanced weapons. They need strategists, tacticians, and warriors. They need humans." General Reynolds frowned. "Even if that's true, we have no way to reach them. The transmission originated from a sector 6 months away at light speed." "The Zephyrians included coordinates for a response beacon," Dr. Chen's voice explained. "If we send our reply to those coordinates, they'll know we received their message." "And then what?" "We can't transport armies across the galaxy." Dr. Hawkins smiled grimly. "We don't need to transport armies. We need to transport ideas. Human military doctrine, strategic thinking, and combat psychology. We can teach them to fight like humans." The Brazilian representative raised his hand. "Assuming we agree to this insane plan, what guarantees do we have that these aliens are trustworthy? What if this is an invasion strategy disguised as a distress call?" "It's possible," Dr. Hawkins admitted. "But the energy expenditure for their transmission suggests genuine desperation. Besides, any species capable of galactic travel wouldn't need deception to conquer Earth." Secretary General Santos called for a recess. World leaders huddled in private discussions while scientific teams prepared additional analyses. The weight of humanity's first interstellar decision pressed down on everyone present. When the session resumed, the vote was surprisingly unanimous. Earth would respond to the Zephyrian distress call. The message took 3 weeks to compose. Linguists worked with xenobiologists to create a response that conveyed both humanity's military capabilities and peaceful intentions. Military strategists contributed tactical assessments, while diplomats ensured proper protocol. The final transmission began with a simple phrase that would echo across the galaxy. "This is Earth responding to your distress call. We are humanity and we specialize in warfare." Dr. Chen stood in the transmission bay as the message launched toward Zephyrian space. The quantum beacon would carry humanity's voice across impossible distances, announcing Earth's presence to a galaxy that had never heard of humans. "Think we're making the right choice?" Morrison asked, joining her at the observation window. Sarah watched the beacon disappear into the star-filled void. "We've just told an unknown alien civilization that we're a species of warriors. Either we're about to become the galaxy's greatest heroes, or we've painted a target on Earth that will be visible from across the universe." "No pressure, then," Morrison replied dryly. The beacon, carrying humanity's response, streaked through space, carrying with it the hopes and fears of an entire planet. In 6 months, the Zephyrians would know that their call for help had reached a small blue world inhabited by a species that had never stopped preparing for war. What they couldn't know was that humanity had been waiting their entire history for exactly this moment, a chance to prove that their endless conflicts and military innovations served a greater purpose in the vast cosmic arena. The galaxy was about to discover what happened when you asked humans for help with a war. As the beacon disappeared into the darkness between stars, Dr. Chen wondered if the Zephyrians truly understood what they had requested. They needed military assistance from a species capable of warfare. They were about to get humanity, and humanity had been perfecting the art of war for millennia. The transmission would reach Zephyrian space in exactly 184 days. That gave Earth 6 months to prepare for whatever came next. 6 months to ready humanity for its first interstellar war. The Zephyrian homeworld of Ethros hung like a wounded jewel against the backdrop of dying stars. Once proud cities now lay in ruins, their crystalline spires shattered by weapons that consumed matter itself. High Counselor Zarathul gazed through the reinforced windows of the underground command center, watching as another section of the capital city vanished into the hungry maw of a devourer harvesting vessel. "Any responses to our distress signals?" she asked Communications Officer Veltar without turning away from the devastation above. Veltar's tentacles danced across the quantum communication array with practiced precision. 17 acknowledgments from various species, Counselor. Most offer supplies or refuge for our civilians. None offer military assistance." Zarathul's 4 arms hung limp at her sides. The Zephyrians had evolved beyond physical conflict eons ago, achieving peace through advanced technology and diplomatic wisdom. Their weapons were tools of precision, designed for construction and exploration, not the brutal efficiency required for warfare. "The Altarians?" she asked hopefully. "They express sympathy, but cite their pacifist doctrine. The Rigelians offer medical aid. The Andromedans will provide sanctuary for our young." "All generous offers for a dead civilization," Zarathul muttered bitterly. The command center shook as another devourer beam struck the planetary shields. The energy barriers that had protected Ethros for 1,000 years flickered and wavered under the relentless assault. Soon they would fail, and the devourers would begin consuming the planet's core. "Counselor," Veltar's voice carried a note of confusion. "We've received a response from an unknown species. The translation matrix is having difficulty processing their communication protocols." Zarathul's secondary eyes focused on her aide, while her primary eyes continued monitoring the battle displays. "Unknown species? From which sector?" "The transmission originates from a small system near the galactic rim. The stellar classification matches no known civilizations. They call themselves humanity and claim to specialize in something the translator renders as warfare." "Warfare?" Zarathul turned fully toward Veltar. The concept was so foreign that most galactic languages lacked proper terms for organized violence. "Are you certain of the translation?" Veltar's tentacles flickered nervously across the controls. "I've run the translation protocol 17 times. They specifically state they are a species that specializes in organized combat, tactical violence, and something called military strategy." The command center fell silent except for the hum of failing shield generators. Every Zephyrian present stared at the communication array as if it might explode. "They're offering to help," Veltar continued. "They request detailed information about our enemies and our current military capabilities." Zarathul felt a chill run through her crystalline skin. A species that specialized in violence? Such a concept violated everything the galactic community believed about evolved civilization. "Send them our tactical databases," she decided. "If they truly understand warfare, perhaps they can suggest strategies our minds cannot conceive." The data transmission to Earth took 18 hours to compile. Zephyrian scientists uploaded everything: Devourer ship configurations, weapon analyses, planetary defense systems, and the complete history of the conflict. They had no idea they were about to receive the first military briefing in galactic history. On Earth, the Strategic Defense Initiative had transformed overnight into humanity's first interstellar military command. General Patricia Reynolds stood before a massive holographic display in the Pentagon's deepest bunker, surrounded by the planet's greatest military minds. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, "we've received the enemy profiles from our new alien friends. Dr. Chen will brief us on what we're facing." Dr. Sarah Chen stepped forward, her face pale from weeks of analyzing alien data. "The Devourers aren't a traditional military force. They're a collective consciousness operating through artificial intelligence networks. They consume entire planets to expand their computational power and resource base." The hologram shifted to show massive, geometric ships shaped like angular diamonds. Their vessels are approximately 50 kilometers long and composed of programmable matter. They can reshape themselves for different functions: mining, transport, or combat configuration. Admiral Robert Hayes, commander of Earth's Space Forces, studied the ship's schematics. "What are their offensive capabilities?" "Matter disintegration beams that break down molecular bonds. Energy weapons that drain power from all sources within a target area. And worst of all, conversion technology that turns consumed matter into more Devourer units." General Antonio Vasquez, from Spain's Special Forces, leaned forward. "How do the Zephyrians fight them?" Dr. Chen pulled up tactical recordings from Zephyrian battles. "They don't fight them. They try to contain them. Look at this engagement pattern." The hologram showed Zephyrian ships maintaining perfect formations, firing precise energy bursts at optimal mathematical intervals. Their movements were predictable, calculated, and utterly methodical. "They're fighting like computers trying to solve an equation," observed Colonel Sarah Kim from South Korea's Cyber Warfare Division. "Exactly," Dr. Chen nodded. "The Zephyrians have evolved beyond chaos, beyond unpredictability. They approach warfare like an engineering problem." General Reynolds stood up. "And the Devourers?" "The Devourers are learning from every engagement. They adapt to Zephyrian tactics in real time because Zephyrian tactics follow logical patterns." The room erupted in discussion as military leaders grasped the implications. Admiral Hayes called for order. "So we're dealing with an AI enemy that learns from predictable opponents," he summarized. "What do we know about their weaknesses?" Dr. Chen highlighted sections of the Devourer ships. "They rely on distributed processing networks. Each ship contains multiple AI nodes that communicate constantly. They also require enormous energy inputs to maintain their matter conversion systems." Colonel Kim raised her hand. "What about psychological warfare? Can we disrupt their communication networks?" "They don't have emotions or morale to attack. But their communication systems—" Dr. Chen paused, consulting her notes. "They use quantum entanglement for instantaneous coordination across vast distances." Can we jam their signals? Not jam, confuse. If we could introduce chaotic variables into their decision-making process. General Reynolds smiled grimly. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we're about to teach the galaxy what humans do best: create chaos. The response to the Zephyrians filled terabytes of data. Human military doctrine, asymmetric warfare tactics, guerrilla strategies, psychological operations, and something the translators struggled to render: the concept of dirty fighting. When the transmission reached Ethros, Zarathul convened an emergency session of the remaining High Council. The survivors gathered in the deepest chambers of their underground complex, while devourer beams carved through the planet's crust above them. The humans have sent detailed tactical recommendations, reported military analyst Kethvar, one of the few Zephyrians with any understanding of combat theory. Their suggestions are disturbing. Explain, Zarathul commanded. Kethvar's tentacles trembled as he accessed the human files. They recommend abandoning all formation flying. They suggest random attack patterns, feinting maneuvers, and targeting non-military systems to force enemy responses. Non-military targets? They specifically mention attacking devourer resource collectors to force defensive reallocations. They call it forcing the enemy to fight on multiple fronts. Council member Zyflon spoke up from her position near the strategic displays. Such tactics seem chaotic. How can random actions achieve victory? Kethvar pulled up human military history files. The humans have fought continuous wars for their entire evolutionary history. They've developed something they call adaptive tactics, the ability to change strategies mid-battle based on enemy responses. Change strategies during combat? Zarathul's four arms gestured in confusion. But proper tactics require careful calculation and planning. The humans appear to specialize in improvisation. They study their enemies' behavioral patterns, then deliberately act in ways that violate those patterns. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Everything the humans suggested contradicted fundamental principles of civilized conflict resolution. There's more, Kethvar continued reluctantly. They've sent something they call rules of engagement for asymmetric warfare. It includes tactics such as hit-and-run attacks, misdirection, and exploiting enemy overconfidence. Council member Threndal's voice carried a note of horror. They're suggesting we lie to our enemies? Deception is central to human military doctrine. They have entire universities dedicated to studying combat psychology and battlefield manipulation. Zarathul stared at the human files displayed on her screen. Thousands of years of warfare, billions of conflicts, endless innovation in the art of destruction. These humans had transformed violence into a science. Counselor, Veltar interrupted from his communication station. The humans are requesting real-time tactical coordination. They want to observe our next engagement against the Devourers. Above them, another section of the planetary shield failed. Time was running out. Grant their request, Zarathul decided. Open a direct communication link to Earth. If these humans truly understand warfare, perhaps they can teach us to think like warriors. The quantum communication link established between Earth and Ethros created humanity's first real-time interstellar conversation. In the Pentagon's command center, General Reynolds found herself staring at an alien face for the first time in human history. Zarathul's crystalline features and multiple arms seemed delicate compared to human anatomy, but her eyes held the weight of a civilization facing extinction. General Reynolds, Zarathul's translated voice carried exhaustion and desperation. Our planetary defenses will fail within hours. We have 17 combat vessels remaining. The Devourers have brought 43 harvesting ships and 12 combat configurations. Reynolds studied the tactical display, showing Devourer positions around Ethros. Counselor, Your ships are maintaining defensive positions around key installations. You're letting them choose the battlefield. We must protect our cities and manufacturing centers. No, you must make them protect theirs. Dr. Chen, show me those Devourer resource ships. The display highlighted smaller vessels on the system's periphery, converting asteroids into raw materials for the Devourer fleet. Those ships are undefended because the Devourers assume you'll follow conventional tactical doctrine, Reynolds explained. Send 3 ships to attack their resource operations. Force them to choose between continuing their assault and protecting their supply lines. Zarathul's 4 arms gestured in agitation. But that will leave our cities vulnerable. Your cities are already doomed if you keep fighting defensively. Make them fight your battle, not theirs. The quantum link carried tense silence as the Zephyrian Council debated. Finally, Zarathul's voice returned with grim determination. We will implement your suggestions, General Reynolds. If we survive, perhaps you can teach us more about this warfare that your species understands so well. As 3 Zephyrian vessels broke formation and streaked toward the Devourer supply lines, Reynolds realized she was watching more than just a battle. She was witnessing the moment an ancient, peaceful civilization learned to think like predators. The galaxy was about to discover what happened when humans taught aliens to fight dirty. The Devourer collective consciousness experienced something unprecedented: confusion. For the first time in 17 conquered star systems, their enemy had acted outside calculated parameters. 3 Zephyrian vessels had abandoned logical defensive positions to attack resource operations on the system's edge. The artificial intelligence networks that controlled the Devourer fleet processed this development through millions of calculations per second. Their algorithms predicted Zephyrian behavior based on 847 previous engagements. This deviation from established patterns created computational discord across their entire tactical matrix. On Ethros, High Counselor Zarathul watched her display screens in amazement as 12 Devourer combat ships broke off their planetary assault to intercept the attacking vessels. "It's working," she whispered into the quantum communication link to Earth. "They're responding exactly as General Reynolds predicted." In the Pentagon Command Center, General Reynolds smiled grimly. "That's because artificial intelligence, no matter how advanced, relies on pattern recognition. Now order your remaining ships to abandon formation and attack from random vectors." "Random vectors?" "Don't think, Counselor, just attack. Trust your instincts, not your calculations." Zarathul's crystalline features contorted in an expression no Zephyrian had worn for millennia, the face of a predator preparing to strike. She opened communication channels to her remaining fleet commanders. "All vessels, abandon formation protocol. Attack targets of opportunity. No coordination, no patterns. Make them guess what we're doing next." The transformation was immediate. 14 Zephyrian ships scattered like startled birds, each captain choosing their own targets and approach vectors. The elegant, predictable dance of civilized warfare became a chaotic swarm of individual hunters. The Devourer collective reeled from sensory overload. Their tactical algorithms couldn't process 14 different attack patterns simultaneously. Ships designed to function as distributed processing nodes began making conflicting calculations, jamming their own communication networks with contradictory data streams. "My God," breathed Dr. Sarah Chen, watching the battle feed from the lunar station. "We've given them something the Devourers have never encountered: unpredictability." Admiral Hayes leaned forward. "What's the tactical situation?" "The Devourer ships are hesitating between targets. Their AI can't decide which threat to prioritize because there's no logical hierarchy to the Zephyrian attacks." On the quantum link, Zarathul's voice carried excitement and terror in equal measure. "General Reynolds, one of my captains is suggesting we ram a Devourer harvester. He claims the psychological impact will disrupt their tactical planning." Reynolds grinned. Do it. Sometimes the best weapon is the one your enemy never sees coming. The Zephyrian vessel. Harmony's Edge accelerated toward the largest devourer harvester, abandoning all pretense of self-preservation. Captain Mordun had lived for 400 years as a peaceful explorer. Today, he discovered something ancient buried in his species' genetic memory, the willingness to die fighting. The collision created a spectacular explosion visible from Ethros' surface. The harvester's programmable matter hull couldn't adapt quickly enough to absorb the impact. Both ships vanished in a burst of exotic energy that registered on sensors across the star system. The Devourer Collective experienced another new sensation, something humans would recognize as shock. Their algorithms had no framework for processing kamikaze attacks. The concept of deliberately accepting destruction to achieve tactical objectives violated their core programming. They're hesitating, Zarathul reported. The Devourer ships have stopped their advance entirely. General Reynolds consulted with her tactical team before responding. That's their weakness. They're trying to calculate responses to actions that have no logical basis. Keep hitting them with impossible choices. Colonel Kim from Cyber Warfare stepped forward. General, I have an idea. The Devourers use quantum entanglement for communication. What if we taught the Zephyrians to introduce false information into their networks? Explain. Electronic warfare through quantum static. If we can teach them to jam Devourer communications with random data, we can turn their coordination advantage against them. Dr. Chen brought up technical specifications on her tablet. The Zephyrians have quantum communication technology. They could theoretically broadcast interference on Devourer frequencies. Reynolds turned to the quantum link. Counselor, we need your ships to transmit random data on all quantum frequencies. Flood their communication networks with noise. Random data? Anything. Music, poetry, mathematical sequences. Just make it unpredictable. Across the Zephyrian fleet, communications officers began broadcasting everything from ancient cultural songs to random number sequences. The quantum interference created a cacophony of meaningless information that crashed into Devourer communication networks like a digital tsunami. The effect was immediate and devastating. Devourer ships began contradicting each other's orders, pursuing multiple conflicting objectives simultaneously. Their perfect coordination collapsed into mechanical chaos. Captain Yelandra of the Zephyrian vessel, Crystal Song, watched a nearby Devourer combat ship slowly tear itself apart as its own systems received conflicting commands. The elegant geometric hull buckled and twisted as internal mechanisms fought each other for control. "This is impossible," she whispered to her crew. "They're destroying themselves." On Earth, military analysts watched in fascination as the galaxy's most feared enemy defeated itself through confusion. The Devourers had optimized themselves for fighting rational opponents who followed logical patterns. They had no defenses against pure, chaotic creativity. "General," Dr. Chen called out excitedly, "we're getting reports from other star systems. Devourer fleets across the galaxy are showing signs of coordination breakdown." Reynolds frowned. "How is that possible? This battle is isolated to the Zephyrian system. The Devourers are a collective consciousness. When we disrupted their tactical algorithms here, the confusion propagated through their entire network. Every Devourer ship in the galaxy is now struggling to process chaotic variables. The implications hit everyone in the command center simultaneously. Humanity's introduction of chaos theory to galactic warfare had crippled an enemy that spanned multiple star systems. On Ethros, Zarathul received confirmation from the Galactic Communication Network. 17 different star systems reported Devourer withdrawals. The collective consciousness was retreating from conflicts it could no longer understand. "General Reynolds," she said through the quantum link, "the Devourers are abandoning their positions throughout the galaxy. Our remaining ships are pursuing them to ensure complete withdrawal." Reynolds felt a weight she didn't know she'd been carrying lift from her shoulders. "Congratulations, Counselor, you've won your first war. We could never have achieved this without human guidance. Your species' understanding of warfare saved our civilization." The quantum communication link carried a long pause before Zarathul continued. "General, the galactic community will want to know about humanity's role in this victory. How should we explain your species' capabilities?" Reynolds exchanged glances with her staff. Earth had just announced its presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible, by teaching aliens how to fight their first war. "Tell them the truth, Counselor. Tell them humanity specializes in something the galaxy forgot how to do: controlled chaos. We've spent our entire evolutionary history preparing for conflicts that hopefully would never come. And now? Now we're the galaxy's military consultants, whether we want to be or not." The aftermath of the Devourer War reshaped galactic politics overnight. Within weeks of the victory, Earth received communication requests from 17 different star systems. The Altarians wanted to establish trade agreements with the species that understood warfare. The Rigelians requested defensive pacts against unknown future threats. The Andromedans offered to share advanced technology in exchange for military consultation. Dr. Chen found herself appointed as Earth's first galactic ambassador, a position that didn't exist a month earlier. She stood before the newly constructed Interstellar Communications Center, watching message after message arrive from civilizations eager to understand human military doctrine. "Any regrets?" asked Director Morrison, joining her at the observation window. Sarah considered the question carefully. "We've gone from a species nobody knew existed to the galaxy's premier military consultants in less than 3 months. Every alien civilization wants to learn how to fight like humans." That didn't answer my question. She smiled. "No regrets. For the first time in human history, our talent for warfare serves a truly noble purpose: protecting civilizations that chose peace over violence. The Zephyrians established Earth's first off-world embassy in lunar orbit, a crystalline structure that gleamed like a jewel against the star-filled void. High Counselor Zarathul herself took the position of first Zephyrian ambassador to humanity. In her inaugural address to Earth's leaders, she spoke words that would echo throughout human history. "We asked the galaxy for military assistance, and the galaxy sent us teachers who understood something we had forgotten: that peace without the ability to defend itself is merely a temporary condition." General Reynolds, now promoted to Director of Galactic Military Affairs, established humanity's first interstellar military academy. Students from across the galaxy would come to Earth to study subjects that had never been taught before: asymmetric warfare, psychological operations, tactical improvisation, and the uniquely human art of thinking like your enemy while acting like yourself. The curriculum included case studies from human military history, from ancient battles fought with bronze weapons to modern conflicts involving cyber warfare. Alien students struggled with concepts like acceptable losses, strategic deception, and turning disadvantages into advantages. Most challenging for galactic students was the human concept of fighting dirty, using unconventional tactics that violated enemy expectations. The idea that honor and effectiveness could coexist in combat was revolutionary to species that had evolved beyond physical conflict. The Devourer collective consciousness never returned to threatened star systems. Their algorithms remained corrupted by variables they couldn't process: random actions, chaotic tactics, and the fundamentally unpredictable nature of human military thinking. Years later, archaeologists would discover abandoned Devourer installations with walls covered in endless calculations, the collective consciousness's futile attempt to understand human warfare through mathematical analysis. The equations filled entire chambers, growing more complex and contradictory until the calculations consumed themselves in recursive loops of logical impossibility. Earth's transformation from an unknown world to the galaxy's military guardian happened so rapidly that most humans struggled to comprehend the change. Children grew up learning alien languages alongside human ones. Universities offered courses in xenobiology and interstellar diplomacy. The military academies that once prepared for theoretical conflicts now trained officers for actual galactic peacekeeping duties. Dr. Sarah Chen, reflecting on humanity's new role during a quiet moment in her ambassador's office, realized they had achieved something unprecedented in galactic history. Every other species had chosen either advanced technology or military prowess. Humanity alone had maintained both, the wisdom to seek peaceful solutions and the capability to enforce them when peace failed. The irony wasn't lost on her that humanity's greatest contribution to galactic civilization was teaching peaceful species how to fight. But perhaps that was exactly what the galaxy needed. A species that understood warfare well enough to know when it was necessary and skilled enough to end conflicts quickly when they arose. As she watched Earth's blue surface through her office window, Sarah smiled at the thought that humanity had finally found its place in the cosmic community. They weren't the most advanced species or the most peaceful civilization. They were the species that answered when the galaxy called for help, bringing with them the one thing that no amount of technological advancement could replace: the hard-won wisdom of warriors who had never stopped preparing for the battles that others hoped would never come. The galaxy was safer now, protected by beings who understood that the price of lasting peace was the constant readiness for war.